Stay put. Wow. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our virtual career day series. My name is Lin Win, and I'm your young adult librarian at Chinatown Branch Library. I'm here today with my co-host, Jessica Levy from Palisades. Say hi, Jessica.
Hey, everybody.
We're so excited to have you here for our weekly virtual career day series where we introduce amazing careers to you. Today, we have two amazing guest speakers from the tech industry here to share some tips, tricks, and provide you with some insight on how they got into their profession as designers. Wow, we don't think about that very much. We would love to extend our deepest thanks to all of you, our participants, for being here with us today, our guest speakers, the Library Foundation, and the Friends of the Chinatown Branch Library for their generous support. Before we begin, I would like to go over some housekeeping rules. Your microphones are already muted, and so you do not need to have your cameras turned on. Recording is in progress. If you wish to ask questions at any time during this program, please feel free to type that in the chat box. Don't be shy. And at the very end of the program, there is going to be a Q&A session where you will have the opportunity to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask the question live. All right. And we hope you enjoy today's Career Day program. At the very end, there is a very short survey. Please, please, please complete that survey for us. We do share, bits and pieces with it with our guest speakers today. So that being said, I would like to ask you all to open up your chat box. It's at the very bottom right there. And the question that I'd like to ask all of you is, what is your favorite form of streaming entertainment? Do you like Netflix? Do you like Instagram? Do you like TikTok, Facebook? What type of technology are you guys using to stay connected with your friends or entertainment? Okay, there's a lot coming in. Netflix, Twitch, Crunchyroll, Tumblr, YouTube, Instagram, Hulu, MeWe. Wow, I've never heard of that before. Really cool. All right. Well, I'd like to first introduce our guest speaker. His name's Ashten Whoopi Winger. Ashten Winger also goes by the name of Whoopi, is a Los Angeles-born multimedia designer, developer, and creative director. Whoopi was first introduced to computers at the age of 5 by his uncle, an aerospace engineer, and quickly embraced the medium. He has combined his love for art and computing and is now working at Netflix on the product design team. He has also contributed to a variety of projects ranging from high-profile commercials to international festivals. So welcome, Whoopi. Say hi to everybody.
Hello, what's up, everyone? Thank you for coming. Really excited to chat with everyone today.
Oh, this is awesome. What do you think of all of our answers from our audience in the chat box?
I mean, really, it's all relatable. For me, I love seeing YouTube. I love seeing Crunchyroll. I'm a weeb myself, so I love seeing all that stuff. MeWe is a new one. Also love seeing TikTok and Hulu and all of those things. I personally am a big fan of YouTube and TikTok. I think that's where I spend most of my time. Though I work at Netflix, I think on the mobile side is where I spend a lot of time, and I'm really interested in those spaces and other people's perspectives, which is why I'm personally a fan of TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah, this is so great. Well, Whoopi, would you be able to tell us a little bit about what you do at Netflix? How long have you been there?
Yeah, so I'm about to hit 2 years at Netflix. I'm actually a motion designer, but being a motion designer on a product design team means so many things. So being on product really means that you're working on a platform. You're working on a user experience. So in my case, I'm working on the platform that supports the content. I am not on set. I don't work with directors. I don't edit at Netflix. I'm specifically working on the products. So that means that I'm working on the mobile side. I'm working on what you guys see on your browsers. So within Chrome, Firefox, Safari, etc., as well as TV and console. So I think about all those spaces at scale, and I also think about you all when working on these new features and new experiences for everyone.
That is so amazing. When was your moment where you realized, when was the aha moment where you realized we're creative and that you had an element for creating things for people to feel a certain way?
That big aha moment came for me pretty early, and I'm very grateful for that because early on, I wasn't doing well in school. I didn't do well elementary, middle school, or high school. I barely graduated high school, but luckily for me, I was introduced to computers at a very young age. And I was also had access to high-speed internet at a very young age as well. So my mom was the one who actually realized the aha moment where she was just like, oh, you're really into computers. You're really into creating stuff. She used to buy me cameras. She used to buy me video editing software. In high school, I used to make Star Wars fan films, and I used to actually do the visual effects. So this was before TikTok. This was when YouTube just started, and I was actually creating all these lightsaber effects and green screen effects when I was like 14, 15 years old. So it came along very, very early for me, where I was just like, oh, I want to be creative. I didn't know it could be a job, but for me, I was just having fun. And that's all that mattered when I was younger and when I was just exploring. I was just having fun with my imagination and doing whatever I can with the tools that I had.
That's awesome. And with all these tools that you had, what were some of the things or projects or jobs that you were able to attain when you got out of high school?
So I got out of high school in 2008. I wasn't on a path to go to college, uh, but I had this great background in film production, visual effects, and game hacking. I used to create scripts and different hacks for video games. So I know some of you are familiar with this when it comes to creating scripts for like Grand Theft Auto and Roblox and Fortnite and all that stuff. But imagine that. But I used to do that stuff 20 years ago before it was super popularized, right? So I had this background in media and all that fun stuff very early. So when I graduated high school, it was kind of the boom of content where HD was starting to become the norm. Um, and a lot of studios were actually looking for people who understood Final Cut Pro, who understood After Effects. And luckily for me and my resources being YouTube, I ended up teaching myself completely how to use those tools. So earlier on, my earlier jobs was my first job actually was at the Motion Picture Sound Editors, which is a guild for sound designers, and I was actually their editor. I would edit all. I would get early access to all these movies. I would create a reel for their big Motion Picture Sound Editors awards, and I would create these reels, and then I would go to the actual award shows, and I would meet all these directors and amazing sound designers from all the biggest films. So that was when I was 18. And then after that, I've worked a ton of really interesting jobs. I worked at American Apparel in their video department. I worked at Apple. I was a genius for a little bit. And then, moving up, my first office job was at an entertainment marketing agency where I was like the video supervisor and all that stuff. So I could ramble on and on. I mean, I had a lot of interesting jobs, but it wasn't until I was like maybe like 22 when I started to really experiment and really collaborate with a lot of other people, and really just kind of figure out what's the creative direction I want to go in.
Wow, that is so amazing. Oh my goodness. So many questions. I'm sure that our audience members are, circulating in their head. But, being that you did all of these things, and even though college wasn't the direction that you were going in, what was something that was really important to you to keep you going?
For me, once I got out of high school, that's when the world was mine, right? Because for my mom always told me, once we get you out of high school, you're gonna like do anything you want, and I know that. So really, high school was a struggle for me. Once I got out, I was able to really just kind of take a step back and be like, okay, great. Now I can apply for internships. Now I can work on fan films. Now I can just have the drive that I wanted without being held back by school. And I was just really excited to be as creative as possible. And I've always had that drive very earlier on. I was way more talented in the arts and my creative side than academics. And it showed really early for me. And I think once I started to get those internships and all those opportunities, that's what drove me more. Really, it was just my first job out of high school, which was the motion picture sound editors. And once I realized that people liked the work that I actually did, that's what pushed me more, because I didn't know I could get paid for this stuff. And then I received my first check and I'm like, oh, $200 for something I would do for free. And then that just snowballed, and more people found out about me and reached out for me to do work. And $200 turned into $500, which turned into $1,000. And this whole time I'm still like 18, 19, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I can get paid for this. This could be my career. And that's when I just really started to focus in on like, all right, I want to do digital media. I want to do tech. I want to do anything with computers and collaborating with others. I want to do anything that I can create that'll get my work in front of a ton of people so I can have as much of an impact as possible.
This is amazing. I love this. What are some of your career highlights, being that you've done so much? Would you be able to share that?
Yeah, I actually share my portfolio.
Let's take a look at it.
What I'll do for y'all, I'm going to share the portfolio that got me the job at Netflix, which is the highlights of all the stuff that I'm like really, really proud of. And excuse me, I haven't used Zoom in a while. I normally use, easy, already on it. Cool. Now I'm just making sure all my tabs are closed. Great. Cool. So can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see it. Drizzy tears.
All right. So can you still see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Cool. So one of my career highlights was a project called Drizzy Tears. Drizzy Tears is my very first app. It's a game where you stop Drake from crying. When I was 24, I hit a rough patch at work. I experienced my first, just kind of like my breakdown, and I was just kind of burnt out. And that was the first time where I was just not happy with myself or not happy with the work I was doing. So I had this very fun idea. I wanted to create an app. I've always wanted to create an app. And I was just like, look, I have the resources. I finally have some money to go to a trade school to learn how to code real quick, and I can create this app. So thanks to the trade school, thanks to YouTube, I learned how to create an app. So I created this game called Drizzy Tears. And Drizzy Tears is a game where you stop Drake from crying. It came out in 2004. It's only on iOS, but it's a really fun game. It took me about 7 months to develop, and I developed it all on my own. It's very poorly coded. But yeah, this was a game that really kicked off my career. It's what got me into my very first tech job, which was at Snapchat. And I actually showed them this in my interview, and they're blown away. And they're like, oh, we need to get you on board and have you work on filters and AR stuff. And it really was this project. But this project wasn't just an app. It was an album as well. I worked with my brother and my friend who runs a record label to actually create an app to tell the story behind to create an album to tell the story behind the app. And that released on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere you can find music. And luckily that blew up everywhere. It was my first app. I put in all my money and all my time. I had quit my job at a marketing agency, and it paid off because it ended up going viral, and everyone ended up seeing it and playing it and everything. And then fast forward, I said that I worked in video production and all that stuff. I still do, but I also direct music videos. So I worked with the Glass Animals to direct their music video for season 2, episode 3. It was a lot of fun. I worked on set with a ton of talented people. It was a half live action, half animated music video. I won't show the music video. I know we're limited on time. a lot of fun stuff. I had my first like vinyl cover in collaboration with Spotify, which was massive. But the really cool thing about it is not only did I direct their music video, but I also created a video game where you could play the music video yourself. So the fans who saw the music video, they could go to App Store, download the game, which is based off the music video, which was a really fun collaboration with me and them. I mean, they're from the UK, and they found me and they wanted me to direct and create an app for them, which was a lot of fun. And just to fast forward, so I've created a ton of music videos and apps from since then. I worked on a music video. I directed a music video for a French artist named Niska, featuring Quavo and Steph London. It was fully animated. It was a lot of fun. The story was about a heist and a car chase scene. It was all done in 3D and everything. We had about maybe 3 weeks to create it. I worked with animators on this project. And yeah, also it was with a French artist. So most of the people that I've worked with is people from other countries and everything. And then I think that's the last one. The last like career highlight project was Whoop This Arcade. I had my first gallery and it was in London. Vans Footwear actually reached out to me and they asked if I could do a gallery, and I pitched them Whoop This Arcade. Whoop This Arcade is my own arcade where I build these arcades. Not only do I build the arcades, but I created a game for them. I did all the electrical engineering work, all the woodwork and all that stuff. You see my dog right there, that's Bash. And it was a gallery that was up for a whole month in London. And I had to ship all of these from LA to London. I didn't really know anyone. It was so cold in London, but it was a highlight because I only had 2 months to do all this stuff. Vans hit me up last minute. They had a budget. And the only thing was just that I had, like 2 months to create all of this. But it was a skate game. It was a rhythm game. So if you're used to DDR or Guitar Hero, I created a rhythm skate game based off of that. And the gallery was great. A ton of people came. A lot of people I didn't know. A lot of people played my game, and it was a huge success. And it really was a highlight for me because I was out of my comfort zone. I was very far away from home, and I was in a place where I didn't really know anyone. And people came by to see my work and all that stuff. And all of this has happened, when I was at Snapchat, my first tech job. And yeah, thank you. So that's a lot of stuff. Hopefully I didn't take too long with that.
No, it was so informative. It's so awesome. There are a lot of things that I think a lot of our teams here can benefit from. Just wow. Some of yours, I love your vibe, Whoopi.
Oh, thanks.
So talented. Whoopi, there was a question that came in. What trade school did you attend?
Yeah, so I went to General Assembly to learn iOS development. And that was, I want to say it was like a 12-week course. To be honest, I was so behind. Everyone was so much better than me at making apps. Like, I didn't know what was going on. However, it gave me all the right resources after it to like do research and to learn, to pick up things and where to go. Most of the time for me, I'm kind of a slow learner. So most of the time, like if I'm in class and teacher's going over stuff, I won't get it right away, but normally I'm very resourceful. So I'll go back after hours and I'll do my own research and I'll like reteach myself. And that's something I had to do with General Assembly. They taught me everything, but I was just very distracted and had to reteach myself because, just kind of slow with learning, which is okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love that you just kept going. It seems like you didn't let anything stop you. And to put yourself out of your comfort zone, like what did you learn from all of that? And what do you think the teams will learn from doing something similar to what you did?
Yeah, really, it's just about being passionate and how much, whatever you do, you just want to make sure that you love it, that you're interested and that it drives you as much as possible. I think that's from all those projects, for me, even working at Netflix, I've been interested in it since I was young, and make sure that you are interested in it. I mean, whether you watch stuff on TikTok or watch stuff on Instagram, try to figure out what exactly about it do you enjoy. Do you enjoy consuming the media? Are you someone that could be a curator or someone that could be an editor? Or do you really enjoy the tools? Do you enjoy the creating aspect of it? Are you interested in creating new tools or creating new worlds? Or are you interested in the types of people that are viewing this content? And trying to make it global and trying to tell new stories and all that stuff. But really, it's just like, make sure to be curious, because that's all it was for me. The path wasn't really laid out. I was just like, oh, what does this do? Oh, what can I do if I press that button? And really just, really just curiosity really drove my whole path. I'll be completely honest, whether it's, working at TikTok or working in editing or at American Apparel or Netflix now, really curiosity drives it all. And people love to see that.
That's awesome. So when you went to Netflix, how was the job interview process for you?
Okay, so here's the interesting about tech. So I was working at Snapchat, and Netflix contacted me, but I was working on some really cool projects. A lot of AR stuff. I was working on my first AR billboard, a lot of cool stuff. So when the first time Netflix contacted me, I knew what Netflix was. I knew what the product was, but I didn't understand the culture. I didn't understand what the company was like and how massive they were. So they reached out to me, and I was like, oh, Netflix hit me up. And it's a very privileged thing for me to kind of brush off, but I was really interested in what I was doing at Snapchat at the time. So I was like, okay, Netflix contacted me. I'll take the interview, but I'm not really ready to jump over because Snapchat at the time was booming. They just went public. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. So I kind of bombed my first interview with Netflix. And this is something you should never do. Don't purposely bomb any interviews, but I wasn't on my A game with it. So they reached out to me. I met with a couple of product managers, and they had some roles they had in mind for me. And I was just like, yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, I guess streaming is chill. Will I get to be able to make anything? How soon will people be able to see the stuff I make? Because normally the roadmap for a lot of stuff, people really won't be able to see your work for maybe 6 months to a year on most products. Compared to Snapchat, I was creating filters and AR stuff, and I would see that 2 hours later, and it would get 20 million views, and then I would see people respond to it on Twitter, and it was just very fast paced. So I didn't get a second interview at all. Fast forward to a year later, I was ready to leave Snapchat. Instagram was attacking us, and there is also just better tools and apps coming up that was just way more interesting, and I was ready to leave Snapchat. And I was really bummed that I blew that interview with Netflix, because I started researching and I found out that they had a really cool culture. They had really cool perks as well. I mean, tech perks are great, but also just they really trusted all of their employees to really do whatever they think is best for the company. And as I started to research all this stuff, I was just like, man, this is a bummer. And I was looking around, I was like, there's not too many companies I want to go to. I didn't want to go to Facebook at the time. And this is, once again, I understand my privilege and where I am. It's crazy that I'm even being like, oh, I don't want to go to Netflix, but it's more on the social side. I mean, there's problems at Netflix. There's things Facebook. There's things that go on Facebook and all that stuff. And I didn't want to be a part of that. And I was looking around. I was like, okay, where are companies I can start, applying for? There's TikTok. TikTok was on my number one list. It was Netflix. I think Quibi was on my list as well. I got an interview with TikTok. They had me do a test, like a motion test and all that stuff. And didn't hear back from 2 months. Sorry, Vanessa. Let me put them on spot real quick. I didn't hear back from TikTok from 2 months. And, I hit up my friends there. And I was like, hey, what's going on? All my other friends from Snapchat got a job at TikTok. What about me? And then 2 months later, they're like, sorry, we went with someone else. I was just like, oh, okay. All right, cool. I'll just keep on, keeping on. But the really cool thing at Netflix, literally, I want to say 3 hours after I got declined by TikTok, Netflix reached out to me. And the cool thing about most tech companies is though you might not pass through the first interview, they will keep you like archived and all that stuff. And they reached out to me and I was just like, oh my God, this is a blessing. Literally 3 hours after I got rejected by TikTok, Netflix hit me back up and I've been praying for them to like go back because I regretted it so much. So they were like, hey, Whoopi, we have a role that we think would be great for you. Would you like to interview? I was like, yes, please, like let me come in. And then like the next week I had I had 3 interviews. The first one I met, they're called panels. You meet with the whole team, want to make sure that you're a culture fit, that you're a fit tech-wise, that you're fit when it comes to performance as well. Met with the whole team, showed them my work. They really liked it. Met with managers, managers, directors as well. Second meeting, I met with the team from San Francisco. And then the third meeting, it was with HR. And that was the final meeting where they were just going over more of the culture and just to make sure that I was truly interested in the company. And then a week later from that, I get a phone call. I run to my car because I was at work. I run inside my car and I'm like, hey, yeah, hey, how's it going? I honestly thought they were going to reject me. And they're like, oh, yeah, we have an offer for you. We would love for you to work here at Netflix. So the interview process was very difficult. Even when I interviewed at Snapchat, they had me in a room and I had to work on filters right in front of them. And they literally gave me an assignment. And Netflix actually did not give me an assignment, which I'm really surprised about. TikTok gave me an assignment. So I was kind of like very grateful. I mean, though I had a ton of interviews, I was happy I could just show off my work because one thing that one of the directors said, because I was showing him my Snapchat work and he stopped me. He was like, hey man, he's like, your Snapchat work is good. It's really great what you've done, but that's work that people told you to do. What are you passionate about? Do you have any work that you've done on your own? And at that moment, I had the biggest smile on my face because I love side projects. And I whipped out that portfolio I just showed you. I whipped that out. And I was like, yes, say less. I got it. And then I showed them all the work. And it's really important because I was able to show range. I was able to show what I'm curious about. And it wasn't just one thing, me being a designer or me being a motion designer. It was me being a motion designer, product designer, director, electrical engineering, prototype developer, all that stuff, just to show that I'm really, once again, curious and really just interested about the field. I'm not just, oh, this is the work that I was forced to do. No, this is the work that I do when I'm off of work. Things that make me happy and that push me forward.
This is
Sorry,
so
that was long-winded.
Awesome. No. I'm so like engaged with you. This is just so amazing, and I wish we had all the time in the world. But
no, I'm sorry.
It's perfect. It's perfect. For all of our teens out there, our audience members out there that's interested in going into this field, like what are some tools that you can recommend that they practice to keep their craft or to keep their competitive edge? Like what is something that you use every day to like stay on top of your game?
Oh man, I use YouTube every day. I use TikTok blows my mind because it's like new forms of tutorials. It's like short form tutorials where you can learn things super fast. I favorite a ton of TikTok tutorial, like Photoshop tutorials, because I'm just like, what? You could do that? I do it all the time. But really, the difference between when I was growing up, I'm aging myself a bit, but dating myself a bit, but is that there just wasn't that much free tools. I had to hack and pirate most of my tools, whether it's After Effects or Photoshop. Right now, everything is free. You guys have a lot of tools. Just use it. Whether you're on your iPad, your iPhone, or a computer, there's powerful tools in all of it. And you can do literally anything you want. You could create apps. You can create music videos. You can create mock-ups. Just really get your ideas out there. Because one thing that helped me a lot was just I was interested in just executing whatever came in mind. And this iPhone right here can have reach to everyone around the world. Like you could create something, get it out, throw it on whatever website you want, and people will see it. So really, just use any tool that's available that you're interested in. Um, if you want to get into the product design role, I would say learn tools like Figma, learn tools like Sketch, Illustrator, Photoshop, just to learn the design side. There's a ton of free stuff on YouTube to learn those tools. If you want to learn how to develop, there's Xcode, which is free. They have a whole sandbox. There's Swift UI, which is a visual coding language, coding system that Apple has. I would say also, if you want to get into game development, game engines are incredibly powerful right now. Game engines actually it's going to be what drives media moving forward from really right now on. This is just something like real-time render engines. This is Unity. This is Unreal Engine, which are both free, by the way. You could create games, you could create live experiences, you could create augmented realities. And also most platforms have their own tools now, whether it's Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, they all have like AR tools or filter tools that you could create all this stuff, and you could create communities. So there's so many tools. I would utilize any of them. Don't worry about, having a following or anything like that. I would say it's more important to create as much as possible. And when the opportunity comes, you could just throw all your projects in their face. Because really, that's what we like to see. We just like to see that you have that drive and that you love to have fun and create as much as possible.
This is amazing. You guys heard it from Whoopi, so you better stay on top of it.
Yeah, just have fun, do what you're doing. Actually, you all are doing a great job. If you're here, you're already on it. So don't worry about it. Just keep on keeping on, really.
Whoopi, you do so much in your life. What's something that you do for your own self-care when it gets too difficult or when it gets hard?
Yeah, that's something I'm constantly just trying to figure out. Yeah, there's everything from working out. I mean, there's no gym anymore, but I have a Peloton. I try to work out as much. I mean, we go running. Me, you, Vanessa, like we all are a part of the same run club. You guys are much faster than I am. I can't run more than 3 miles. So, but I mean, running is a big one. Really, just being as active as possible. You want to make sure that you stay in motion. That's really one thing. But yeah, I mean, I do kind of struggle with self-care, making sure that I'm together as much as possible. It's really hard right now, and that's okay. But really taking time for yourself. My boss has always forced me to take time to myself because it's easy to just overwork yourself as much as possible, especially in this field because we're on our computers all day. Whether we like it or not, we're technically working. So yeah, I try to get away, try to disconnect. I work out, meditate, Headspace, it's free-ish. There's other apps as well that's also free, guidance, all that stuff. And also try to eat healthy. But really, yeah, just looking out and also, chatting with friends, doing this kind of stuff, giving back, I think is extremely important as well. I think you guys might think this helps you out a lot, but this also helps me a ton because at the end of the day, I'm just like, oh, I'm contributing, I'm giving back. And it's something I'm passionate about. So thank you guys for letting me do this because mentally, this is great for me. It's like, yes, I do all this work and it reaches hundreds of millions of people, but this direct kind of impact and ways to get back and, storytelling is also very important for me. So yeah, those are one of the couple of ways.
Well, we appreciate you so much just for even being here with us and for taking the time out of your day. So I'm going to ask you one last question and then I'll turn it over to Jessica. If you could turn back time, what is something you wish you could tell yourself?
Ooh, there's so many. No, I mean, like really, like I'm so grateful for, my path and how the story, I always see myself as like a coming of age story because things weren't always good and all that stuff. But if I could go back and kind of like give myself a little guidance or just kind of tell myself, really it's just to I don't know. I'm very grateful for my past. Really, it's just to stay curious. And okay, I know what it is. Enjoy the process. This is something that I learned a bit late. Enjoying the process is so important. Yes, you can enjoy what you're doing, but really that moment where you're in flow, when you're really like just working or collaborating with someone else and creating something that's, coming to fruition, that journey, right? It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Yeah, that journey, enjoy that part. Look outside the window of the car and see what's going on. Take that moment to be like, wow, I'm making something, I'm doing something, I'm building, I'm developing, I'm using my brain. Because that's really important. And I didn't discover enjoying the process until I was like 25, 26. This is like year two into tech. And I didn't know what that was until I had a friend. I would see her work all the time, and I'd be like, "Wow, she looks like she's really just enjoying it." And I don't have that. How can I have that? So whenever I'm working on things, mostly personal projects, whenever I'm working on stuff like that, I always like take a moment and be like, "All right, remember this moment where it's very early, where this thing that you're making looks so bad, and it's okay for things to look bad, but remember this moment right here where you don't know how to do things." It's okay because like soon it's going to look great. People are going to see it. And it's going to be something that you're really proud of. So yeah, if I can leave you all with anything or with myself from the past is learn how to enjoy the process to whatever you make, create, collaborate on.
Thank you so much, Whoopi.
Thank
Great
you.
advice. Enjoy the process. Enjoy this. All right, guys. I'll turn it over to Jessica. And if you guys have any questions, definitely like start coming up with the questions, typing that in the chat box, and we'll make sure to ask that for you. Thanks, Whoopi.
Thank you, Whoopi. That was amazing. You are so motivated and really show how you do not need to follow a prescribed path to be successful. You just have to have a lot of drive, and you really exemplify that. So I'm excited to introduce Vanessa Ong. She's a Vietnamese Salvadoran American designer born and raised here in Los Angeles. She now works at TikTok as a visual designer. And her work is driven by her core values, which demonstrate a passion for design and an awareness of the world it will live in. So, and maybe you can give Whoopi some tips in case he's checking out TikTok for a future job opportunity. So without further ado, Vanessa, thank you for being here. And please tell us more about your job at TikTok.
Oh my God, thank you guys for having me. First of all, Whoopi, that was incredible. I don't know how I'm supposed to follow up, but that was amazing. Really, really great work. I have to tell my coworkers about you. So yeah, basically at TikTok, I am a visual designer, a graphic designer. I also do some things in like artist curation too. So what that entails is basically, if you don't know what a graphic designer is, it basically is someone who designs like identities for certain brands, at least I do. And also coming up with like marketing examples, such as like billboards or banners, or even just like fonts and things that you see out in the open. Also, at least for like a visual design perspective, we also do different fonts on the platform of TikTok too. So we also have banners on there. We have, after like COVID hit, we started doing a lot more live programming on the platform. So you'll see like things like Black Voices or AAPI or Learn on TikTok. So all of those things are things that we make at TikTok. And also, one thing that I'm really excited about working on is currently the offices are closed, but we're still developing the offices for whenever we get back. We don't really know when, but we're all working from home. My favorite part of working at TikTok is like artist curation. So I never thought I would be doing this in my life. And because I just work behind the computer and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to design some graphics, but I'm actually like helping design the space, design office spaces. So like picking artists to create murals in the space and like experiential graphics in the space, which is something that I never thought that I would fall into doing, but it's amazing to be doing that.
Wow, that sounds very creative. So can you tell us more about how you got to where you are? Did you go to an art or design school?
Yeah, so I went to Cal Poly Pomona and I graduated high school in 2010. And when I started Cal Poly Pomona, I actually started as a sociology major because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to go to college. So I was like, well, let me just like pick something on the drop down menu, see if I get in. So I eventually did get in, and you know, it was really hard to get classes in sociology at the time because I was a freshman and like they weren't giving us like priority access to the classes. So I was like, well, I'll just take a bunch of classes and see what I like. And so I eventually made my way into communication and journalism. And in that major, there is a class called film photography. And I had never had a camera, and I didn't really know. I mean, I knew what a camera was, I knew what photography was, but I was like, wait, film? I had like, it was just like, I had no idea. It was foreign to me. So I had to actually rent a camera from school. And after I took that class, I was like, wait, I like making things. Like I like taking pictures. I was like really proud of the work that I was making in that class. And I was like, well, maybe communication and journalism isn't for me, but maybe making things is for me. So I eventually found out we had an art program at my school. And we had either art history or graphic design. And graphic design was more the route that I took because you got to make more things. In art history, I am an art history minor. But in art history, you learn about how these like certain artist movements came to be, where as in like these design classes, you actually make them. So I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. So I just pursued that. And then, yeah, the rest is history.
So tell us more about that history. In college, were there any internships or experiences you had that helped you continue on that path?
Yeah, so I took a few internships in college. So because I took so long to like figure out what I wanted to do, I had a lot of time, and I actually got it a little like, I struggled with my mental health a lot too. So it was just a big struggle overall. And so while I was failing some of my classes, I was also taking these internships on the side. So I was like, well, let me just like supplement it with those instead. So I took an internship at the American Heart Association. I also had an internship at the Honest Company, which is Jessica Alba's like makeup company and baby company. I also had another internship at Juice Served Here, which is like a juice company in LA. I actually worked at 3 juice bars before college too. So, and then, yeah, my last internship before I started like my career in design was at the Honest Company, and I was a print and packaging design intern. So I was doing like some print and packaging really. And then eventually I found a job, and I was like, whoa. And I was still in school. Like I didn't even graduate yet. So I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. I'm already working and I'm still in school. So I was like, do I really need to graduate? But I did anyway, because my mom was like, you better.
Well, it sounds like you found some success pretty early on in spite of all the other challenges you faced. And how did you end up working at TikTok?
Oh yeah, okay. So my first job was at Wondrous, which is an agency, and our program, our client was the National Institutes of Health, so it was like a government agency, and we did a lot of like things in medical research. So I was just designing the graphics for that, and we ended up launching the campaign after a year that I was there, and I was like, oh, let me just like start looking for something else, just to see. I'm curious because I was still comfortable, you know, but I was like, well, maybe let's see what's out there. And so I applied to this place called Musically. And I was like, what is Musically? I don't even know what that is. And they reached out to me. And at first, like same as Whoopi, I kind of like ignored it because first I didn't really know what it is. And I was like, I had to ask my little sister, and I was like, have you heard of Musically? And she was like, yeah, it's like a short form video platform. But I don't use it, but I heard it's cool. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go talk to them, see what's up. And yeah, and so I just ended up talking to them in the interview, and it was still Musically at the time, but they actually just turned into TikTok like the week that I joined. So I was like, what did I get myself into? Like I didn't really know what the project, like what TikTok was. I was just like, let's just take a risk and see what happens, you know? And eventually 2 years later, I mean, I've been there like almost 2.5 years, and I'm like, wow, TikTok blew up. It's crazy. How did I end up here? And I was like one of the only designers on the team too. So I was like, what? What is happening?
Wow, that's wonderful though for you. Have been some of your project highlights? Do you want to? I know you have some visuals. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead and share. Uh, Cool. Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. So yeah, I just have some projects that I want to share with you guys. This is like my personal stuff that I do on the side. I like to paint, I like to draw. These are like digital collages. So I make it all in like, this is on like Procreate. This is just like regular house paint that I got from Lowe's because it's a lot cheaper. I recommend getting it from there. And then this is a workshop that I took. I did this virtual workshop through TikTok. It's called like risograph printing. And basically you like submit artwork and it gets printed like on different, like, how do I say this? Like each color gets printed first. So like the yellow was printed, all the yellow was printed first, and then all the red was printed. And then you just basically like draw each of these. So it was like really cool. And they sent me all these like different paper styles, and I'm super proud of it. Definitely gonna do that again. It was kind of hard to like figure out at first, but totally fine. Yeah, so these are just like some paintings that I do. I'm really inspired like the women in my life. So a lot of the times you'll see women in my artwork, like my personal artwork. Shout out to my mom. And then, yeah, so my first internship was at the Honest Company. And, you know, at the Honest Company, I was like a print designer, and, you know, designing just like a bunch of graphics for a brand was like, it was cool. And I like the product, but I was like, I have a lot of fun like drawing like little things like this. Like I came up with this font and like drew little aspects like for here and here. But it was really great. I got to learn how to like talk to people first of all. And then I also just like liked the office environment. It was such a cool office and everybody was so nice. So just cool to like finally collaborate with people and like pretend to be a professional. And um
Fake it till you make it.
yeah, exactly, 100%. And then I ended up getting a job at like Wondros, and our client was the National Institutes of Health. And this was very branded, and the photography is really cool. And like, again, like I did a little bit of like drawing here. And, you know, it was definitely a cause that I was invested in. It was like President Obama's like health research campaign. So I was like, oh, yes, let's do that. But then like, when the campaign launched, I was like, oh, where's all that excitement going? So then I ended up at TikTok. And we have a lot of like little campaigns throughout the year. So this one is for International Women's Day, and that's in like March, I think. And so I created these graphics for that, and yeah, just came up with like event planning, created this sweatshirt design and like in-app experiences too. So we had like hashtag events, like hashtag she did that. And then another one that's really cool is Black Voices. I designed like the main like visual identity. So I came up with a logo, which eventually inspired the photographer to like have Michaela did like dress up in all gold. And it was really cool to see how like your logo could translate into this entire identity. So it was cool. And she also talked to like Alicia Keys, which I'm a huge fan of. So that was really great. And it was just a great program to amplify our Black community too. And then this one's also really exciting. So in our offices, in our LA office, at least, we have 4 muralists in the space now. So we have Ashley Lukashevsky, Ricardo Gonzalez, Jade Purple Brown, and Jesselyn Brooks. Like they're amazing artists, and I'm huge fans of them. So like it was really cool to just reach out to them, be like, hey, do you want to do a mural at TikTok? I love your work, and I think you would be such a great fit. So yeah, it's amazing just to be able to like communicate with my favorite artists. And I'm like, wow, this is insane. I never thought I would be doing that, because it's like, you know, I just feel like I'm maybe like 3 years into my design career, and I'm like, whoa, I'm like, I don't know, these are like icons to me. So it's really crazy. And yeah, that's a few things that I want to share with you. But yeah, I don't know if I answered the question.
You did. Thank you. Yeah. I wanted to ask, I know since you both, well, Whoopi had mentioned, you know, the perks of working for tech companies, even though you're working from home, maybe pre-pandemic or even still now, what are some of the perks of working at TikTok?
Oh my God, there's so many. So, I mean, aside from like working with incredible people, like the people that I work with every day are like the most talented people that I could ever imagine. And just like learning from them, and like also I'm giving feedback to people that are really good, and I'm like, whoa, we're just like elevating each other and like leveling up together, which is crazy. But yeah, wait, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Oh, what are some of the perks? I mean, you talked about some of these amazing artists who were your idols and you got to work with them. So that sounds like one, but are there any others you want to share with us today?
Oh yeah, so TikTok is such a crazy platform. Like the community is insane, and I love like the product itself. So it's really like, I mean, a perk is definitely believing in the product that you're working on and like loving what you're working on daily. So that is a perk that isn't like monetary, but another perk is like, you know, when we were in the office, they would give us food, and then you know they pay my bills, which is really great. But yeah, I mean, they really just want to inspire us to keep learning too. So like they'll tell us, they'll give us like stipends to like take classes and stuff like that, which is really cool. So yeah, I mean, it's such a great place, and they just want you to like level up in your career, like whether you're leveling up like for TikTok or for your future, like they really invest in like in you as a person, which is really awesome.
Cool. Whoopi touched on this too, but especially working in a tech creative career field, it's easy to just kind of get wrapped up in your work, I imagine. So how do you, I know you're in Lynn's Run Club as well, so maybe running's an outlet, but how else do you find ways to kind of detach and take a break and just relax?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually like haven't been running for the past 2 weeks because I sprained my ankle on a run, and I was just like, no. But I've been like working out daily, even despite that, just like different types of workouts, like no jumping for now. I watch a lot of Netflix. Like I just binge watched Bling Empire, and it was really good. Yeah, I watch a lot of Netflix. I spend way too much time on TikTok, and I'm like, does this still count as working? I think it does. Let's just say it does. Let's see what else. More self-care. Like I'm not going anywhere right now because of like COVID, but honestly, like some days I'll just like do my makeup for no reason and then just be like, okay, well, I'm here. Like I feel cute today, so that's a confidence boost. So yeah, just little things like that. Trying to find like the joy in every day really, because you know, I feel really blessed to be working during this time, and yeah, it's just there's so many things to be grateful for. So it's like finding the little joys throughout the day is key to like my sanity.
Yep, good advice. I did want to touch on something briefly because, you know, a lot of our audience, they're in high school, and you mentioned, you know, having some mental health struggles when you were in college, and whether or not you go to college, your 20s are typically a time when you face when anyone faces a lot of extra challenges and you're kind of figuring out how to live on your own as an adult. Do you have any advice from things you've experienced that you want to share with the teens on how to get through difficult moments?
Yeah, so when my mental health really struggled in college, one big part of it was because I was in like my 4th year in college, and most people graduate around their 4th, 5th year, and I was maybe like getting 2 years worth towards my degree at that time. And so all of my friends were graduating around me, and I was just like, man, I feel like I'm being left behind, you know, like I don't really know, like why can't I, like why isn't it sticking? And so I eventually like, you know, saw a doctor and figured it out, and it was just, this is your journey. Like this is your journey. Your journey is not going to look like everyone else's. And even though you take a little bit longer over here and over there, like you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing like every day. So, I mean, the people that I work with, they have amazing backgrounds. They're super talented, have been to amazing schools, and I'm right there with them. So it's just like, this is your journey. Just keep doing what you're doing. And that's all I can say. And like one thing my mom told me when I was like super depressed was just like, just take it one day at a time. Like you can't change anything but the present. So just keep going and going and working. So yeah.
Thank you for that. And the last question I want to ask is, looking into the future at a time when, you know, we get the COVID vaccine rolled out to everyone and life returns to a different in-person pace. Do you have any goals or aspirations on your professional side for what you'd like to accomplish?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I just want to give all my like coworkers a hug. I haven't like even seen it. Like, no, I'm not that type of person. Like, I don't hug everybody either, but it's just like so rare to just like hug somebody right now. I, I am taking classes right now, just like for my own personal like benefit. So I'm taking like figure drawing classes, like through Zoom. But it would be really cool to like go back to school and like be in person. And then just like something maybe not professionally. I want to run a marathon or another marathon. I've ran 2 already. So I want to get back to running a third, because that would be awesome just to be around people and running, and the run community is really great too. So
those are great goals. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for sharing your work and your time. And we want to open it up to questions. So Lynn, maybe you've seen some questions if you wanted to start sharing. And if not, you guys type in, or you're welcome, if you would like to speak up and turn on your mic, you can ask a question. You can ask about, what it's like working at TikTok and Netflix, or even Snapchat probably. So this is your chance, guys.
Yeah, this is definitely your chance. I just want to give Vanessa and Whoopi a great big hug. Like, just hug it out.
I see here, Daisy. Oh, yeah, Daisy wanted to ask about the interview process at TikTok from Vanessa, I guess from Vanessa's perspective.
Yeah, so I thought it was pretty great. Like, a lot of my questions, which I definitely recommend researching a company before you go to the interview. A lot of my questions were like, what is TikTok? I need to, how do I figure this out? But it was, I don't know, like the interview process was really great because they were just so open about the process and how they collaborate and really what you want to get. I mean, they are interviewing you for like a good fit, but you're also interviewing them to see if they're a good fit for like how you work. So I definitely think it was like mutually beneficial in that aspect. And the people that I met in my interview were really great. So I interviewed like with a few teams. So like someone from marketing, someone from like the AR effects team, and then also someone who would end up being in my team. But she actually quit before I joined. So I was like, wait, where'd she go? Like she was my only friend. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was so great. And yeah, I didn't get a design test because I think the AR team is separate from the visual design team, so it was in like the same exact process. But yeah, it was really great. I thought it was cool. And also like over time, whenever you're getting jobs like or interviewing, like everything is really just like practice for the next interview or wherever. So like I have had so many jobs. Like I worked at a bunch of restaurants, I worked at like those juice bars, I worked in retail, and then I also had a bunch of like internships. So it kind of like trains me to just like talk and be honest and be open about like who I am, because I'm me and I'm unapologetically me. So it's just like you get like this is me, and you either take it or you leave it,
That's great. So yeah, it helps boost your confidence to do a lot of interviewing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I see Chloe has a question. You're welcome to turn on your mic, Chloe.
Hi, I was gonna say, did either of you, Vanessa or Whoopi, did you guys ever think of any other fields, or did you guys always want to go into like creative and tech fields?
Great question.
Let's start off with Whoopi, or let's start off with Vanessa. Sorry.
Vanessa, you first.
Okay, I'll just jump right in. I think everything is super interesting. Like I feel like I have so many interests. So gaming is super cool. I think nature is really rad. Like even just like learning how like plants grow and stuff, like is super cool. I've always thought about like going back to school for like botany and like learning. And one of my like when I was a kid, I also wanted to be like a deep sea scientist. So one of my goals was to name a fish, like a deep sea fish, after me. So yeah, I thought it was just, there's so many things that I've wanted to do, and there's so much time in your life, so you don't always have to stick to one thing. You can jump around if you want.
Yeah, kind of similar. It's very funny that Vanessa brought up like being a scientist, because that's what I wanted to be as well. My mom's a school teacher, but she's very similar to Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, so that rubbed off on me. And I always wanted to be a scientist. but it didn't really work out that way. But I think I did always just want to be creative no matter what. I mean, I did things I didn't mention. I also did music, I did dance, I did performing arts as well. And, I was very interested in that. But at the end of the day, I really enjoyed just making stuff on a computer and getting it out. And it just ended up, I didn't even know that I was being creative at the time. I didn't know being creative was going to be like this really big thing in the future. I just knew that I could finally just make stuff. Because I mean, to this day, I'm not good at drawing or anything like that. So the fact that I can make stuff on a computer was big for me.
Whoopi, I actually have another question for you. If you could go back and tell any of your teachers, you talked about how school was not really your thing, but maybe there was a way that they could have nurtured your creativity. You didn't say either way, but is there something you could go back, if you could go back and tell them like, hey, when you have a student who's like this, maybe do this instead, what would you have advised them?
Yeah, really, it's just to listen as much as possible. I mean, it's so easy to discipline a student and have them try to focus on what you're teaching. But I was actually very fortunate in high school, though. I didn't have good grades academically. My arts was great. I went to an art school. I went to Hamilton High, like in Culver City, and yeah, I was like, I did. I played saxophone, did dance, and learned lighting design there and all that stuff. So I was very fortunate when it came to that. But if I could really tell any teachers, like just to listen or try to adapt to the students. I have one teacher who's like, "Look, I know you're struggling in my class, but I've also seen your YouTube videos. How about for your final, you make me a video explaining the quadratic I forget something formula, whatever
Equation. Uh-huh.
yeah, over 2a, like all that stuff. um, and I did, and that's what helped me pass high school. So I think if more teachers can just be a bit more flexible, can listen to their students, can really see what they're interested in, and I'm starting to see it now. Like I see so many teachers on TikTok, and I'm like, oh my god, I wish I had this. I would kill it. Yeah, really, it's just adapt and be flexible as possible.
Yeah. Okay, so if there are any teachers out there, you probably already know this if you're here, but take Whoopi's advice. Okay, I got another direct question from one of our guests today for both of you. How much overlap is there between fields, such as between design and game development? And can you create that overlap if it doesn't already exist in your position?
So how much overlap is there between fields? Like, I mean, there's the cool thing about design, is that design is everywhere. And literally every company you go to now has a designer, whether that's a designer that's doing visual design, that's creating decks, or if that's, someone that's designing a set piece or production design. There's all types of designers, right? So one thing that I always say about design is more about the opportunity to design. Like for me, I wasn't like, oh, I want to be a product designer. Being a product design is new, like past maybe like 5-8 years. But for me, it was like I did one thing. I did motion design, I did visual design, I did stage design, and it led to one thing and another. When it comes to overlap between design and game development, I mean, same. You design in everything. You could design characters. You could design game flow. You could design content. You could design the story. There's design in everywhere in all different types of forms. It's not just Photoshop or After Effects or painting. It's literally everywhere. It's how you piece things together. It's how you communicate as well. So yes, for me, I did game development because I was just interested in games, and I was more forced to. And then I learned, oh, this is powerful tools. I don't have to just use these tools for game development, but I could use it for storytelling overall. So everything overlaps within design. That's what's so amazing about it. You're not just stuck.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree too. I think design is everywhere. Everything that you have seen in the world has been designed, which is insane to think about. But there's complete overlap everywhere, and like you eventually like learn as you go. like what looks good. And if it looks good and feels good, all you got to do is sell it, you know? So there's so much overlap. And yeah, I definitely, yeah, I completely agree.
Thank you. So we have just a few more minutes. If you guys have any other questions, now's your chance. And in the meantime, Vanessa and Whoopi, if you want to share any links to, someone asked about a LinkedIn account, but if you want to share your websites or whatever you're comfortable with, feel free to put that in the chat. And if not, if anybody else has questions that don't get answered today, and you can reach out to Lynn or myself, fill out that survey and we'll have your contact info and we can put you in touch. Lynn, did I miss any questions?
Oh, no, you did great. There's a question
Okay.
coming in from Daisy. How does design or graphic design work with the marketing team?
Yeah, so I take that. And basically marketing and design work hand in hand, because marketing, you have like people building the strategy for a product and coming up with like what it looks like, a business plan really. And then when it goes to graphic design, it's like you have to visualize that and make that like come to life basically. So we work really closely at TikTok. So yeah, it's kind of similar. Like there's people that are strategizing and then there's people who are like more visual people.
I see a question here through direct message to me. So someone is asking, if we want to get started in design, what should we as teens start to do now? So maybe like you guys have kind of touched on this, but are there specific tips you want to give?
Yeah, there's so many things. Really, I say just start learning the tools. I think most of all of this stuff is just knowing the tools. When you get into design, whether it's a studio or an agency, a lot of it's just people being like, oh, you'll have a creative director who's just like, I want to do this. This is the vision that I'm thinking of. But creative directors don't know tools. They don't know color theory. They don't know composition, all that stuff. And that's really on you to take that concept and bring it to life. Vanessa literally said, like, visualize it. So really learning the tools is half of it. I wish that, I mean, for me, I'm still learning the tools. I still go on YouTube every like week just to learn new tools, learn new approaches to just different things. So yeah, do that, experiment, give yourself a project, maybe like once a month or once every 3 months or something like that, and just put it out there. And yeah, really just play around and have fun within any tool.
Thank you. And for you, Vanessa?
Yeah, I agree. And also there's like a documentary series on Netflix called Abstract, The Art of Design. And it pretty much gives you like an overview of design in general. So it goes over like graphic design, illustration, product design. So that's definitely a cool place to start because design is like so broad. So it's a good place to start. Yeah, I mean, I watch so many TikTok videos of designers too. Like they just come up on my For You feed and I'm like, wow, this algorithm really knows me. And then, yeah, just books. If you're into brand identity, so there's a book called, I'm like looking at it on my shelf, Designing Brand Identity by Alina Wheeler that has a lot of like fundamental design. So it teaches you about color theory, logos. It also have some marketing stuff in there too. You could start there. And then there's another website called Brand New Under Consideration. I'll send that in the link, but it goes over like the latest brand refreshes. So I think a recent one was like GM. So they talk about like the logos and the updates to that logo. And they actually do critiques in there too, which is really cool. Yeah. Oh, they also talk about like the new Petco logo. Have you guys seen that one? It's like, they took away the pets. It's so sad.
That's so sad. They took away like the playfulness. It's like, wait, what makes it fun?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, there's the websites coming in, underconsideration.com. Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else you'd like to share? Any last words from Whoopi or Vanessa?
Um, yeah, no, really, just thank you. It's great that I'm actually shocked how many people came here to like hear Vanessa and I just kind of ramble on about our backgrounds and all that stuff. But oh, do you prefer iPad, computer, or PC?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great. I'll just answer that real quick. I work on, so this is a PC actually. I work on PCs. I'm a gamer as well, so I have like this massive monitor and like I built my own computer and all that stuff. When I travel with a Mac. Um, yes, but I want to start to figure out how to get an iPad within my workflow because I think the iPad is the future. But unfortunately, the kind of work that I do, like animation, isn't really supported yet, but it'll get there in like a year or two. But yeah, PC and a Mac for laptop.
How about for you, Vanessa? What do you use a lot?
Yeah, so for my like day-to-day work, I use this MacBook. I also have a Wacom tablet, which is like another, it's basically like an iPad, but it's like a tablet that connects to your computer. I also, for my personal projects, I use my iPad because like usually I just like to take it on the go, like like just work on the bed or like on the floor or wherever, wherever's comfortable. Um, yeah, so I mean, I prefer like for my personal things, I prefer iPad, but for work, computers or MacBook.
All right. Okay, Elizabeth, so do you prefer Netflix or TikTok?
This is a trick question. Is this what my boss? This is going on YouTube. When it comes to just being a consumer, completely removing myself from work, I really enjoy TikTok. TikTok's just, you get those quick hits. I think it's very easy to consume. You get perspectives, you get personalities, you get fun entertainment. You get really, I'm just blown away about the creativity on TikTok. And that's what blows my mind. How about I compare the two real quick, just so I could cover my butt a little bit, what I like about both of them. So yeah, I love the creativity within TikTok. Also, the tooling is amazing. It's very user-friendly and all that stuff. And also, TikTok's great for on the go. When you're in bed, about to fall asleep, but it's keeping you up until 3 a.m. Or when you're just waiting and you need to, waste some time real quick. But for Netflix, what I like about Netflix and being detached, not from a worker point of view, I like that there's a story for everything. And they're really focused on bringing new stories from around the world, different perspectives. And it really, you sit down and you consume it and you can really appreciate all of it. And it really has kind of like a ton of joy in it and a ton of amazing storytelling from new directors and new creators. And I'm trying to like fully detach myself without using any Netflix jargon, but really it's just the storytelling. There's so much new kind of storytelling that's coming out that I never thought I would see because a lot of stuff, studios are afraid to take that risks or to show it in theaters. But because of things like Netflix, I could know what's going on in Japan, what stories are coming out of there or out of Korea. That's a lot of amazing storytelling coming out of Korea or France, or just really, it's just very global. So that's what I appreciate about the two platforms.
Awesome. How about you, Vanessa?
Yeah, I like them both. It's really hard to decide because they're so different. Like TikTok, you get those just quick snippets of everyday life. And then Netflix, I love just like watching stuff. And I know that I'll have to like be attentive when I watch Netflix. And then sometimes I find myself like watching Netflix and TikTok at the same time, which is like crazy. I get super distracted. But yeah, I like them both. To be honest, I really like them both. I love the movies that are coming out of Netflix. And then I also love the creator community on TikTok. So I feel like there's a space for both.
It's awesome. All right, guys. Well, the time has come to an end. You guys heard it from Whoopi and Vanessa, and they did a link in their websites for you. So, please feel free to reach out to them if you have any questions. Everything they've shared today was just so inspiring and so amazing. And just so you guys know, so we're not going to have Career Day next week. In the next 2 weeks, we are going to highlight careers in fashion. So I'm currently working on locking down, some guest speakers. We will also have guest speakers highlighting research and science. So I have somebody that with a background in cancer research that's going to be coming. And then I'm currently working on locking down a marine biologist and a veterinarian for you guys. So yeah, lots of cool things coming up in the future. Please do stay in contact with us through our emails and through our Google sign up form, because that's where I am able to share information. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to hang out for the next 2 minutes to answer any other questions that you guys have. I want to thank Vanessa and Whoopi. You guys are so amazing, and I
Oh,
just want
thank you.
to run with you guys
Thank
and
you.
hug you guys. And I wish we could just be together again real soon after this is all over. But I'm just so grateful for you guys to come on here and share everything so inspirational about your life. And I hope that it motivates all of our audience today to go out there and create something, design something, and to keep pushing forward. All right, thank you. So I'll let them sign off. I'll hang out for 2 minutes here with Jessica, and yeah, feel free to reach out if you guys have any questions.